There's a place that no one dares to talk about. A place that exists in the heart of a forgotten town, hidden from the world, consumed by time and tragedy. It's not just a school, but a graveyard for secrets. Welcome to Harrison High, a place that's been empty for decades, or so the town thought. But some stories don't stay buried. Some things never really leave. It all started decades ago, back when the school was still alive with the sound of children's laughter, the ringing of bells, and the frantic footsteps echoing through its long corridors. Back then, the teachers would tell stories about the place being built over an old cemetery, but no one took them seriously. After all, what's the harm in an old urban legend, right? But as the years went by, things began to change. Strange occurrences. Students went missing, their names erased from the roll, their faces erased from photographs. It wasn't long before rumors spread like wildfire. And then, people started hearing things. Late at night, when the building was left in the dark, alone, doors would slam without reason. Footsteps could be heard when no one was there. And sometimes, in the dead of night, a voice would call out for help. A voice, begging for rescue. The town tried to ignore it, tried to pretend it was just the wind or the creaking of an old building. But deep down, they knew. Harrison High wasn't empty. It was never empty. It was haunted. The first disappearance was a girl named Emily Thompson. She was just 16, a bright student with a promising future. Her friends last saw her on the second floor near the library. But when they went to check on her, the hallway was empty. Nothing but a cold, unnatural silence. But then, they found something. In the library, there was a book left open on the floor, its pages turning with a strange, gusty wind. It was a journal, an old, tattered thing filled with handwriting that seemed to change every time someone looked at it. The words were disturbing. Lines about the dead walking the halls, about the school being a prison for the souls who had never left. And at the very end, one chilling phrase: "The last to leave will be the first to stay." The police found no trace of Emily. No body, no evidence, just that damn journal. And after that, the disappearances became routine. Students and faculty would come and go, their names and faces fading from memory as if they had never existed in the first place. But there was one thing that everyone noticed. They never really left. Not fully. Some say, if you listen closely, you can hear their whispers in the halls, faint echoes of a life once lived. Others say you can still see them, glimpses of their faces in the windows or shadows passing by. But the most unsettling part? The things they leave behind. One of the last teachers to disappear was Mr. Martin. He was an old man, worn down by years of teaching, but he loved his job. One evening, he stayed late to grade papers, just like every other night. He was never heard from again. But the next day, his name was still on the staff roster, and his desk was still there. Except, something was wrong. His papers were scattered across his desk, but there was one that stood out. It was a photograph, half crumpled, with a strange, twisted figure standing in the background. At first, it looked like a shadow, but when someone looked closer, they saw a face. His face, but it wasn't the face of the man who had been Mr. Martin. It was older, grimmer, more hollow. And in that face there was something darker, a warning. That's when the nightmares began. The students started having the same dream of being trapped inside the school, the walls closing in, the sound of footsteps behind them, the voice of someone whispering their name. And when they woke up, it felt as if they'd never truly left, like the dream had somehow followed them back. No one was safe, and no one would ever leave. There's a story, told in hushed tones by the few who dared to walk the halls after dark. It's about a hidden room in the school, a room that no one had ever seen. It wasn't on any map, and no one could ever find the entrance. But those who have searched for it, they say they can feel it. A cold, unbearable presence that seems to draw them in. A pull, like something inside the walls is calling to them. And when you find it, you'll never leave. One day, a group of thrill seekers, curious, foolish souls, decided to uncover the truth. They ventured into the school, at night, armed with nothing but flashlights and bravado. They found the door. It was hidden behind a stack of decaying lockers, as if it had been waiting for them. When they opened it, they found a room, but not like any room they had ever imagined. It was small, cold, and covered in symbols. Symbols that had been scratched into the walls with desperate hands. The floor was covered with something dark, something wet. And in the center of it all was a mirror. They say the moment you look into that mirror, you see something that isn't your reflection. It's something else, something wrong. And once you see it, you're never alone again. Some of the group never made it out of the school. Others returned, but they weren't the same. They walked with a hollow look in their eyes, their voices dull and monotone. And when they spoke of the mirror, their words became twisted, disjointed, as if they were speaking in someone else's voice. So the school was abandoned, the doors locked, the windows boarded up, the lights left to flicker out. But it didn't stop. The haunting never stopped. And for anyone who dared to venture into the dark corridors, into that hidden room, they would find themselves facing the truth that Harrison High had always been a place where the dead never truly left. They waited. In the walls, in the floors, in the very air you breathe. And they're waiting for you. Because once you step into Harrison High, you become part of the story, and there's no way out. Help me.